Good morning, it's August 4th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Will the latest indictment charges against Donald Trump hold up? And that's a very good question, and one that the legal experts are openly debating. The indictment lists 4 charges. First, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Second, witness tampering and conspiracy against the rights of citizens. 3, obstruction of and attempts to obstruct an official proceeding. And 4, conspiracy against rights. Now, anyone who's listened to this podcast knows I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but all the charges brought against Trump, of all of them out there, this case is the weakest. The burden will be on the prosecution, and they will have to prove that when Donald Trump made many of his claims, whether they were true or not, that he knew them to be false. And that's a tough hill to climb. I suspect that Jack Smith is what he's attempting to do is to bait Donald Trump into taking the stand and to testify. Now, that would certainly be interesting and entertaining, but I'm not sure what it will accomplish. Trump would simply state that he firmly believed that irregularities in the election process in multiple states caused a change in the vote counts that changed the outcome of the election. And he'll say he firmly believed that. The real issue here is freedom of speech. Politicians say outlandish things all the time and flat out lie on many occasions, but that's not a criminal act. Adam Schiff repeatedly said that he had conclusive proof of Russian collusion with the Trump campaign in 2016. He was all over the media making this statement. He never produced that evidence, and in the long run, most people assumed that he was making this up for political reasons. In effect, he was lying. In Trump's case, the prosecutor, Jack Smith, is claiming that with the repeated statements by Trump that the election was stolen from him, he was in effect engaging in a conspiracy to defraud the United States. That is the first charge of the indictment. But if Trump truly believed that, then he could not be found guilty of lying and therefore could not be found guilty of the charge. The same would be said of the other charges because they all stem from the idea that Trump was lying from the outset, and therefore all the other charges in the indictment would fall if they cannot prove he was deliberately lying. This is a political case and nothing more. Most of us remember when Bill Clinton lied about his relationship with Monica Lewinsky. You could not prove he was lying until Ms. Lewinsky produced the famous dress. The defense then said that most men would lie about an extramarital affair. Bill Clinton was impeached in the House of Representatives, but the Senate failed to convict him, and each and every senator knew that he had lied. We have repeated instances in the past 20 years of politicians telling voters that the results of an election were not valid because someone had done something to steal the election. Stacey Abrams made this complaint in Georgia after losing for the first time to Brian Kemp and spent the next 4 years saying that black voters had been suppressed and prevented from casting ballots. There was no proof of that, but she continued to say it, and she was protected under the First Amendment. We have multiple members of Congress say that Donald Trump had somehow stolen the election in 2016, and several refused to attend his inauguration, calling him an illegitimate president. They could say that because they had the First Amendment to back them up. The latest case against Trump is the weakest that's been brought forward. You may cheer it on legally, but it is on wobbly legs. The strongest case against Donald Trump is the classified documents case and their storage at Mar-a-Lago. There is a clear evidence that Trump knew he had the documents, that they were not stored securely and correctly, and that he discussed at least one of those documents with a reporter and his publisher, boasting that he had a document made for him by the Department of Defense outlining a plan to invade Iran. Are we now going to back and say that Joe Biden defrauded the voters when during the 2020 campaign he repeatedly said several things with regards to his son's business dealings that turned out to be false? He unequivocally said he never spoke to his son about his business. We now know that's false. He stated that his son never made any money on dealings in China. That turned out to be a lie as well. If Biden had told the truth in 2020 about his son using his name and influence to rake in millions of dollars, would that have changed the outcome of the election? We don't know, but we do know he was lying when he was asked those questions. If you want a primer on how the Supreme Court views freedom of speech, you need only look at the 2005 case of United States versus Alvarez. In 2006, the Congress had passed and President Bush signed the Stolen Valor Act of 2005. It made it a criminal act to make false statements about military medals and awards. Xavier Alvarez was an elected official in California who stated that he was a retired Marine of 25 years. He also claimed to have been awarded the Medal of Honor in 1987. Turns out that was false. He was indicted under the Stolen Valor Act, but when the case got to the Supreme Court in 2012, the law was ruled unconstitutional because of the First Amendment, and it was a 6-3 vote. I would love it if Trump were somehow convicted of something that would prevent him from running for president. I say this because I believe he's hurting the Republican ticket down ballot. But this latest indictment is politics 101 and nothing more. It's not going to stand up in court. It's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your comments, and hit the subscribe button.